Hey guys, welcome to another video. I got a couple of new products for you, and both of these are based around the Mobius action camera, a small little camera that shoots at 1080p, fits just about anywhere, and is great for shooting gameplay video. And on here I have it in two different mounts. One is a PEQ box style mount, and one is a minimal top rail or side rail mount that gets out of the way, takes up little space, and blends in with the gun. So stay tuned, I'll show you how to install these, how they work, and hopefully you want to pick some up yourself. Alright, so as you can see, I already have the mounts on the gun. This is a dual camera mount and this is a single camera mount. This one's designed to look like a PEQ box style mount, and this one is a single camera mount that could go anywhere, and I'll show you the different ways you can mount this with some of the new products that Mobius has put out. So let's talk about this camera mount first, because I think it's very exciting and it's a whole new way to record without letting everyone in the world know you're recording a gameplay footage. So this is actually a two-piece mount, and the two pieces will be sold separately on my store at BrainExploderCreations.com. There's the top piece here, which easily removes. It snaps in over the top. Then here you have your two cameras sitting on a regular mount. The base mount is self-sufficient. If you don't care for the PEQ box cover, you just want to get two cameras on there, one forward facing, one backwards facing, then this will work just fine for you. It screws in. All you'll have to do is supply a nut and a bolt. Easy to find. You probably have some in your house. If not, a quick trip to the hardware store and you got it. But it mounts onto the rail pretty much like any accessory ever, and in there slide in two cameras. So this one is a forward-facing 25mm lens camera. I do have a video how to set up a zoom camera, so I'll link to that in the description. And the self-facing camera is a wide-angle camera, and this is just standard for Mobius. You don't have to do anything to this camera. Alternatively, you could use a forward-facing narrow-angle camera if you don't need that tight zoom. If you're playing CQB, maybe this will be perfect, because you could still pick up maybe part of the sights, and you'll be able to see your enemies, and within 100 feet it'll actually make a big difference for the viewer seeing what you're actually shooting at. So you have a lot of options with these cameras, even right out of the box without any modifications. So when you first put the mount on, you get something like this, two cavities for two cameras. There's arrows here pointing to the front, so you know which way towards the front of the gun the mount goes. It's important because the mounts are slightly different. The Selfie Camera, if you put it the wrong way, you're going to end up with the indicator. It shows that the camera is recording facing towards the enemy, and that could give you a position away. So this mount covers up the recording indicator on the Selfie Camera, so when you put it in right here, it's covered up, so the person looking at you, they have no way of knowing. So the Selfie Camera goes in this way, and the zoom camera obviously towards the front of the muzzle. So if all you're using is this mount, you're done. Now you're ready to go. Hit the two record buttons. I have some gameplay with this from Jericho Airsoft. I'll link to that as well at the end of the video and in the description if you want to see how this looks, both the selfie facing camera and the zoom camera. I really like it because it's very minimal, sits on top, doesn't get in the way. If you have a sight post here, it'll go in between, so you could have sights, and this is low profile enough to where it'll sit below the sight line. And even the optic, these do not really get in the way of it, no more than the regular PEQ box. And it looks proper on the gun, unlike a big camera hanging off the side. If you really want to go for the discreet look, I would recommend also getting the separate top. Now what this does is simply snap over the top. On here it does have arrows as well to indicate which way is forward. So line it up and then just kind of slide it over. It'll clip in place. It stays on really well. I've accidentally dropped the whole gun off my kit onto the ground, and the top didn't come off, it didn't crack, none of the cameras got damaged. So these cameras are tough, and this mount is pretty tough. I wouldn't recommend banging around too much. It is 3D printed, but for all normal use it should hold up just fine. Now the top also has several other advantages. First of all, it isolates the two power buttons, which if you have the camera set up in one button record, which you should, and this is designed for that, all you have to do is reach in here and then hit the two buttons and you're recording. You don't have to fish for which one is the power, which one is the record. Just push it and you're recording. It also hides the record indicators on the top by putting deep here in these grooves, but it's set in a way so if you just lean the gun back a little, from the shooter perspective, you could quickly check if you're recording. But from the enemy perspective, the gun has to be pretty far hanging down for them to know. If you're pointing at them, there's no light indicator. You can't really tell there's anything to give you away. So this will not in any way hamper your gameplay. As you can see, it looks like a typical PEQ box. I went for that new modern sort of look where it's a little more square because that suits better the two cameras. People have done a mod where they've hidden 1 or 2 Mobius cameras inside a PEQ style box. It's usually in the bigger box. As you can see, this is a typical battery box, and it's almost twice as big as this little box that has 2 cameras in it. So people have done it where they've hidden these in there, but it requires tearing up these cameras, putting them sideways, running extension cords to the lens, gluing a lot of stuff in. There's no way it's as easy as this. Here, you simply slide them in, and you're good to go. Now, this also allows the camera to vent by leaving the heat sinks exposed. So you got air coming in there. It'll keep the cameras cool like it's supposed to. And it basically isolates everything you don't need and just lets you focus on the stuff you do need. And it's been designed in a way where it looks like a PEQ style box. Last time I used this, no one really questioned it. I think people see a box on top of your gun, they assume it's the PEQ box, so they just ignore it. So it's very discreet, and it actually makes the gun look cool instead of making it look like you're recording gameplay footage. Now, if you remove this, when you're in the field, you could quickly charge your cameras. There's still access to the little charge ports, which is what I do in between games. I typically top these off by plugging them in and just having them get a 10-15 minutes or so of charge time while we're staging in between games. And you could also run an external battery if you're worried about prolonged recording. Now let's talk about this mount. This is the single camera mount, and it has multiple applications as well. Here I have it sitting below the optic on the top rail. This one's been designed to be very low profile. Again, it mounts like almost any other rail accessory. You slide it on, tighten it down. You will need to provide a nut and a bolt for this as well. And then slide your camera in here. Very simple. The way it's been designed, it's offset so the lens of the camera lines up with the barrel of the gun. So if you do put this on top of your gun, you can have that awesome video game style first-person view where you capture the iron sights and you can still see through them and see the enemies and the BBs. It's a really cool way to record gameplay, very unique. So that's one application. You could put it on top, you could butt it up right to the optic. If your optic sits a little high, it works just perfect. You do have to be cautious if you grip your gun in such a way where your thumb ends up on the top rail. You might be recording just your thumb. So for that, I'd recommend putting it as far forward as possible so you can't do that, or changing your grip. But most people don't grip that way, so it should be fine. Just be cautious. Also, if your optic sits low, you have another option for mounting this. Recently Mobius came out with a variant of this camera that has a 90-degree offset lens. What that means is the camera is meant to be in a sideways orientation. So what you could do is put this optic on the side here, and that only adds about maybe an inch to the width of your gun. Very small. It's probably the smallest in the market. This mount you could use as a forward-facing camera. You could turn it around, use it as a selfie camera, put it on the side, put it underneath if you really want to get away from your hands and have it forward-facing, just like a flashlight. Just make sure you pick out the right camera for the way you're going to mount it. If you're going to put on top, get the standard. If you're going to put on the side, get the 90-degree lens option. So if you decide to go this route, you can have 2 cameras with memory cards, with the mount, all under $300. It's a great way to step up your YouTube game, make those gameplay videos where we could actually see what you're shooting at. We could see your loadout looking back. I love these Mobius cameras. I've had a couple problems with them lately, so now whenever I get one, I get the warranty. It's about $10 and it's good for a couple years. So I would recommend getting that if you buy the camera. So check out some of the gameplay with this camera so you can get an idea for how it looks, how it works, how it looks on the gun, and the quality of footage it does. And check out the store, BrainExploderCreations.com. Hopefully you'll pick some up for yourself. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.